Hey YouTube, what is going on? Crowder here, and today we are showing you the top 10 loadouts in Warzone 3 right now after the big update. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Pulimiyat or the PKM LMG. This is probably my number one for most players in the game right now, outside of the Interceptor. We'll talk about that in a second, but this LMG, for a casual player, it's got very, very limited recoil. It hits really hard. The time to kill on it from long range is really, really good, and it has 100 bullets in the clip. So you can see right now as I'm shooting this gun, it's very easy where even if you're missing shots, you're going to have some extras. It's going to hit hard, easy recoil, and here's the build. Here on your screen is the build. We have the Purifier muzzle brake, the Jack Annihilator long barrel, the conversion kit, which is the most important part about this build overall, like as an entire just loadout, and then the Eagle Eye 2.5, and then the B052 grip. So overall, this gun is insane, has really, really good recoil. If you don't like having, a unsilenced weapon, the best part about this gun is it's still really good. If you go all the way over here to the left to the suppressors, oh my god, there's so many attachments. You're going to find that you can still use the Spitfire suppressor, and it is still really good. So overall, you can use this silenced. If you want a little bit extra recoil, which I prefer, like control, I use the muzzle brake. But either way, an insane build. Probably my number one recommendation outside of this next gun. And the next gun is going to be the MTZ Interceptor. You can see it right here on your screen. This gun is still broken, and if we know Call of Duty, and one thing that Call of Duty does, they've done a great job this year, I'm not going to lie. But when they nerf weapons, they tend not to nerf them enough, or sometimes they just really go overboard. It's definitely a hard thing to get perfect, but this gun is still probably one of the best guns in the game. It is really, really strong, still really easy to hit your shots, and when a squad is shooting at you with interceptors, 3-bullet kills are still going to feel insane with the time to kill. So here's the build for that one. It hasn't changed a bit. You can see the sonic suppressor, the Blackthorn barrel, the high grain ammunition, the 20-round mag, and the Eagle Eye is still going to be the build for this. So this is probably still the number one gun in the game. But at the same time, not everyone's really good with single-fire weapons. So if you don't like the single-fire weapons, then maybe this isn't for you, and that Pulimiyat is. But these two are really kind of 1 and 2 for me right now for my favorite weapons in the game. Now moving on to the Bruin. As you can see it right here on your screen, this loadout is nuts. This has a pretty fast time to kill, a little bit faster than that Pulimiyat. It's going to be pretty good overall at longer ranges, but at the same time, it does have a little bit more of a visual shake. Even with the suppressors, you're going to see when you load up with this gun, you're going to see that this gun is still not that bad, but you just see that it has a lot of shake when you're shooting it, but the recoil itself is not that bad. So when you're shooting at this at the wall, it's kind of just straight up vertical and then a little to the left. So all you have to do is just pull down to the right, and you're going to have a pretty accurate shot. But when you're using this gun, that shake can be very, very annoying, especially for, your casual player. So this hits a little harder than the PKM, but at the same time, I do think the PKM is just a little bit more consistent. And with this build specifically, you're going to see that it's a little weird that I don't have that 60-round mag on it. I actually like the high velocity over on it just to make it a little bit easier from the really farther ranges. But you can take the high velocity off, and it's still a really good gun. And then you feel like more of your assault rifle feel with the 60-round mag on it. So either way, this build is going to be nuts with this exact attachments, but I just kind of enjoy, both of them. If you want to do like one other thing that you can switch up to it, you can throw your high velocity on it. The reason why I'm not using high grain here is that does hurt your recoil control a little bit, and this one already has a lot of kick. So you throw the high velocity on it, and then maybe you want to put a suppressor on it too. So you can obviously have the horizontal kind of get rid of that, and then the fire aim stability. So something like that would look like this, and it's not going to be as shaky, and it's going to be a little bit easier to control, but you're not going to have the bullet velocity as much. So again, you can kind of pick and choose of what you want to do with this one. Really good gun. I recommend it, but let's move on to the next one. And that next one is going to be the DG LMG. So now this one also hits pretty hard from farther ranges, but it's going to have a little bit more kick. This is a weapon of choice that you're going to see me run a lot of the times just because it's kind of just satisfying to shoot. But overall, this gun is good. I recommend it for more of the skilled kind of player. But at the same time, this is not my favorite LMG compared to the other two. It's just something that's just a little bit different when you get bored. But this is the build right here on your screen. And now notice one thing. We are using this suppressor, unless they update it when I'm about to check here. When you check the stats of the suppressor, this one hurts your vertical recoil, but it helps your horizontal recoil, where the Spitfire helps your vertical recoil, but hurts your horizontal recoil. Now, this is not a stat for the Spitfire suppressor on every gun, but for this one specifically, for some reason, the Spitfire suppressor hurts your horizontal recoil on this one. So I actually help and use this one because I personally think vertical recoil is a little easier to control than your typical, than your horizontal, right? So especially if you're a controller player. So overall, I use this suppressor on this one, which is a little bit different than my normal builds, and then everything else is kind of just, you know, your standard stuff. I love the Bruin Heavy support grip. I think it's one of the best for the fire aim stability. And then you have the long barrel, the 2.5 scope for your longer range weapons, and then the recoil stock. This recoil stock is fierce. 18%, 23%, and 13% on the recoil control stats. So something to definitely use on this one if you want to make sure it's the easiest to, you know, kind of control. But overall, again, this gun, very, very good. Not my favorite, but definitely in the long range metas and one of the best loadouts in the game. But let's talk about this next one coming up. And that is going to be the TAC Eradicator. This loadout right here. Now, this gun is fun. Now, a lot of people are not super big fans on the iron sights. You can definitely kind of get away with not using the iron sights. You can obviously take off high green ammo if you want and throw on your scope. But I think the iron sights on this gun are really, really manageable. You know, we're all kind of familiar with this gun specifically. It's the SCAR, the TAC 56, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have a lot of recoil. Very, very easy to control. And just overall, a very fun gun to use. Those first couple bullets come out faster as well. So, you start off accurate with this one. If you're an accurate shooter, this is one of the more faster time to kills. That medium range, the long range is really, really possible with the iron sights, and you just kind of feel a little bit more mobile than your typical LMG. So this thing is the real deal. The build on your screen is also probably the best one that I can build. Again, you can kind of get rid of the high green ammos if you want and go to use, your scope if you're not a iron sight user. But these attachments right here are amazing. And again, the big one for this one is this stock helps you out a lot when it comes to recoil control and the vertical recoil gun kick and all that. And then, of course, this gets rid of that firing aim stability like I keep saying. So this one's a fun one. I love this weapon. I highly recommend it. Definitely in the long range meta. And now let's talk about some ARs because I'm only really naming LMGs at the moment. Now, when we're talking about ARs, we are going to be using the Ram 7. This gun is by far my favorite assault rifle. It's the only assault rifle I really use right now since they nerfed the DG burst weapon. But the recoil on this gun is super manageable, very satisfying to shoot. It brings me back to the Verdansk eras. I have always loved this weapon, even back then during Verdansk. And just in general, this gun has probably one of the fastest time to kills, up to 49 meters out of all of the longer range weapons. But it does have a severe fall off after that range, right? So if you're using a sniper or you want to have that closer range iron sight build, this and the Bass B, which we're about to talk about, are the guns for you. And that build is this: the Cassis Brake, the Cormark Heavy Barrel, the Bruin Heavy Support Grip, the 60-round drum, and then the HVS 3.4 pad. Again, stock, very important for recoil and gun kick. Overall, this gun is a really fun one to use. I use this as my sniper support all the time. This and the Bass B are probably the best time to kills that you're going to get out of some of those longer range weapons up to that 50-meter mark, and that's why they're so good. But talking about the Bass B, here is the loadout for that one. Right here is the Bass B, best build in my opinion. You can use this as a longer range weapon. You can throw a scope on it if you really, really want to. If you were to do that, you probably take off the stock. You throw a 2.5 scope on it, and you kind of go about your day. But when you're talking about this gun, dude, this is, again, a gun that just got nerfed after the update. It's still insane. The time to kill is still insane up to those like closer ranges. So when you're using this iron sight and you're using it as a sniper support, it is going to absolutely still shred. This gun is still insane to use, very fun to use. And the iron sight is kind of underrated. I feel like people don't talk about it enough. So this is still up there in the metas, one of the best guns in the game, especially for that medium range. It's going to have a little bit more kick than the Ram, but it's going to be something that shreds a little harder than the Ram. So keep that in mind when you're using it, and let's give you the last gun of the long-range meta. And of course, it's going to be the Cat AMR Sniper. This one speaks for itself. If you have not been one-tapped by a sniper recently in Warzone, you are the luckiest human being on the planet. This is the build I use on the Cat. This is not a typical long-range assault rifle kind of LMG build, but it is still a long-range meta, and I would always give you my best sniper class, and this is what I use. I love this class. Probably my most fun class when I'm just running around in solos and sniping people. Very fun to snipe. I'm a true traditional sniper. I love battle royale sniping, so this is kind of like, my go-to just play style. But this is the sniper class I use. This is all the long-range meta weapons right now that you can use are just the best loadouts. I don't even know if they're technically meta as much as it's just the best loadouts to give to you guys so you can have some fun on Warzone. But you can't forget about the short-range loadouts, and that's exactly what we're getting into right now. Let's move on to the short-range one. Starting off with a short-range build that I love is this Striker. Now, this is more of a high-skilled kind of build. The time to kill on all the subs, as you guys can see on your screen right now, is going to be, pretty close for the most part. But you're going to see that the ISO 9mm and the Swarm are really, really good up close up to that 10-meter range, which is important because that's most of your fights in Warzone. But after that, they have that severe fall off, and that's why this Striker is like a really, really high-skilled kind of like gun right now. You can use it up close and still kind of get out, get your way with it. but at the same time, when you're using this, it's very mobile, very snappy. It's that traditional kind of sub feel. As you can see, you're very fast, but it is going to have a little bit of kick. So it's not the easiest gun to use out of all the SMGs, but it's probably the overall best one if you're a little bit more of a skilled player. And of course, you can just use the striker and change the attachments if you want. But this is the build on your screen again. Very, very easy to use. Again, if you take off that no stock, if you want to slow yourself down a little bit, it'll probably help the recoil a lot and make it easier. But this is the build that most of the sweats are using. I love this one specifically. Use this weapon, give it a try, and let me know what you guys think. And moving on to weapon number 2. That is this baby right here, the Swarm SMG. It kind of speaks for itself. Really, really good up close. You saw on those time to kill charts earlier that, you know, this gun shreds up to that 7 to 8 to 9 meter range. But after that, it does have a little bit of a drop off. Nothing too crazy. But this gun is just really fun to use. It shreds up close. It shoots really fast, you know, just satisfying. And just in general, it's just a really good gun. So this is the loadout for you right here. Shoots really straight. Love it. Have a lot of fun with it. I don't run this as much as I run the striker, but again, still a top loadout when it comes to close range weapon use. Now, I know you guys just heard me say something about the ISO having a fast time to kill. The ISO 9mm had probably the fastest time to kill on that chart up to that close range fight. So if you were someone that likes to really be aggressive and just get into those close range fights with SMGs, you might want to try out this gun. It's very, very underrated. I don't see a lot of people use it. Some of the better players in the world are using it. Of course, I know FIFA's a big person that really likes the ISO. But this build in general is really good. It has a slate reflector on it too, so I think it just makes it a little bit easier to shoot. It's just a little bit more clear. Recoil is super manageable, and just overall, very fun gun to use. I know it's an MW2 gun, so, you know, some people don't enjoy using the older guns. But this one's definitely still in a very good spot for the short range meta when it comes to that. Here's the build. These are the attachments I was just using. The spiral flash hider, the VLK laser, the high grain ammunition is something that you couldn't put on this weapon back in MW2, but now that you can with the MW3 attachments, this is going to give you that damage range that just helps it out be a little bit better with the 50-round drum and then the slate reflector. Overall, I love this gun. I've been using it a lot. I haven't used it recently in the past couple days, but still going to be a really good gun. Definitely in the top short range loadouts, conversation. And with that being said, here's another build for you guys. The WSP9. This one is a weird one. Now, you don't see a lot of people use this gun kind of ever, but the time to kill on this thing, as you can see from the chart that I was showing you earlier, it's pretty good. Has a weird kind of bounce to it. So you can see when I'm shooting this gun, it just has that odd bounce, but it's a slower shooting SMG, so it doesn't feel like your traditional SMG. But I'm telling you, you hit your shots with this drops people. It's kind of a good sniper support if you're more of an aggressive sniper support person. If you're really, really aggressive or you don't want to use an AR as a sniper support. This is a gun that I'd recommend using if you're just not really a big fan of any of the other SMGs that people are kind of running around with, and just see how you like it. But overall, I love this gun, and that's going to do it for all of the builds. Those are all the short-range SMGs that I could recommend for you guys, all the long-range assault rifles, snipers, LMGs, and all that good stuff, too. So hopefully this video has given you guys enough loadouts to have some fun when you're playing Warzone 3. If it did, drop a like, a comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as always, it's been your boy Crowder. I will see you guys next video. Peace out.